Take a look at this. This is a famous artwork of extinct Australian animals from the Pleistocene, done by Peter Trussler. We can see a giant short-faced kangaroo, the giant lizard Megalania, giant birds, giant wombats, giant everything really. And see this guy right in the middle here? That's the extinct marsupial lion called Thylacoleo carnifex. This lethal beast of a predator evolved from ancestors that would have been quite similar to possums around today. That's right, the ancestors of the marsupial lion were little balls of fluff that ate mostly plants and probably would have gone through your rubbish bin for scraps given half a chance. In fact, the group of marsupials that Thylacoleo belonged to are pretty much all herbivores, and the unique combination of teeth that they have is really well suited to breaking down a mostly plant-based diet. This would make evolving into a super predator pretty difficult, right? So how did the marsupial lion ever evolve in the first place? In this video, I'm going to break down how dental formulae work, and then I'm going to explain how a limitation in the dental formula of a whole range of marsupials means you probably wouldn't have expected them to be able to evolve into a super predator in the first place. And then I'm going to show how evolution solved this problem to give us one of the most ridiculous skulls known to science. And then I'll finish up with a little bit of speculation about how exactly this cougar-sized demon wombat might have hunted its prey. Dr. X here, welcome to the Scullywag Lab, where I present the bare bones fundamentals of skull science. You know, they say necessity is the mother of invention, and let me tell you, no phrase better sums up some of the crazier animals that have come to exist through natural selection. But you know what? Even the most bizarre of animals to ever exist was still bound to a blueprint inherited from their ancestors. A really good example of this is the absurd skull of the marsupial lion, and how this evolved as a direct consequence of the teeth it inherited from its ancestors. But to understand how teeth can be so important in shaping animal skull diversity, we need to understand how dental formulae work. So let's start there. Dental formulae basically indicate how many of each kind of teeth an animal has. This is usually presented by numbers of incisors, canines, premolars and molars separated by colons. These numbers are counted from one side of the face. Humans have a dental formula of 2 incisors, 1 canine, 2 premolars and 3 molars, both at the top and bottom of the jaw. This means that one side of the skull has that many teeth. Are there people with different numbers of teeth to this? Sure, sometimes, but this is the number of teeth most people are born with and grow into. Here's a few other dental formulae for reference. We have dogs, which only have 1 less upper molar than the ancestral formula. Cats have quite a few less molars and premolars. Horses have retained most of their teeth, while sheep actually have no upper incisors, just a pad that they press their lower incisors against to grab on the grass. Rodents like rats and squirrels, as you might remember from my previous video, have highly modified teeth with ever-growing incisors. Rabbits are just a little bit different with 1 extra pair of upper incisors, and elephants are just kind of weird with nothing at the front but a pair of enormous incisors at the top, that's their tusks, and molars for grinding food at the back. Now, as I'm sure most of you are aware, most mammals around today can be separated into placental mammals, where mothers carry a baby until full term inside the womb, and marsupial mammals, where mothers give birth to extremely young jelly bean-sized babies that finish growing in a pouch. The ancestors of these two groups probably had different dental formulae. The dental formula the ancestors of all living placental mammals had was most likely 3 incisors, 1 canine, 4 premolars, and 3 molars, both at the top and the bottom. We can see this in modern day pigs. See right here we have 3 incisors, 1 canine, 4 premolars and 3 molars. The ancestor of today's marsupials is thought to be a little bit different. It had 5 incisors, 1 canine, 3 premolars and 4 molars at the top, and 1 less incisor at the bottom. We can see this exact formula in a modern day American opossum. Now, what is it about the evolution of a marsupial lion from a possum-like ancestor that makes the journey a little bit stranger than most? Well, let's take a look at the teeth of cats and get an idea for what exactly is needed for catching prey and processing a mostly meat-based diet. Now, whether we're talking about a house cat or a tiger, they have quite similar skulls because they do quite similar things. So I picked one at random, a caracal. We can see on one side of the skull it has 3 incisors at the top and the bottom, 1 canine, 3 premolars and 1 tiny molar at the top, and 2 premolars and a big molar at the bottom. The first premolar at the top is pretty tiny and might actually be missing in this individual. This big premolar and molar here move past each other to slice through meat. Teeth that shear past each other for slicing up meat like this are called carnassials. Now let's take a look at the skull of a modern day brushtail possum. It belongs to a large group of marsupials called the diprotodontia. They're named after a huge pair of lower incisors here, and this group includes most of the well-known marsupials around today, such as kangaroos, wombats, koalas, those cute little quokkas, and our possum. Notice how the possum here has one big, well-developed pair of premolars on each side, followed by 4 molars. These are common features of diprotodontids as well. But an important thing to notice is that diprotodontids don't have a lower pair of canines. Now there's a lot of diprotodont marsupials, take this kangaroo for example, that don't have an upper set of canines either. But there's quite a few species, including the possum, that do have an upper pair of canines. They're just quite small. And this is interesting because for canines to function in prey capture, you tend to have an upper pair working against a lower pair. Wait. What about saber-tooths? Well, saber-tooths tend to evolve from a predatory ancestor with paired upper and lower canines. But diprotodontids don't have a lower pair of canines, and the possum-like ancestor of the marsupial lion most likely didn't have any either. So one would think this would make becoming a highly efficient predator more difficult, right? Let's take a look at nature's answer to this problem. Oh, would you take a look at this monster? For starters, it has a really short, chunky skull. And we know from one of my previous videos that this is a feature common to animals that bite really hard. In fact, Thylacoleo was roughly the size of a cougar, estimated to weigh in at 100 kilos or a juicy 220 pounds. But bite force estimates suggest it could chomp down as hard as an adult lion more than double its size. This animal clearly had little interest in grinding up vegetables, with hardly any room for molars. Instead, its pair of slicing premolars have grown to an enormous pair of shearing carnassials. I mean, its entire tooth row is basically one giant tooth. These would have worked kind of like bolt cutters. Instead of canines, it had a large pair of incisors, which would have acted similar to the canines of big cats in seizing prey. But taking a look at the dental formula, it does in fact retain mini versions of many of the teeth its ancestors had, including an adorable pair of tiny upper canines. Now in this skull, many of the little teeth are missing, but you can see where the tiny canines and premolars were. Based on what we see today of different groups of mammals that specialize in capturing prey, including other groups of marsupials, if the ancestors of Thylacoleo did in fact have a lower pair of canines, its skull probably would have evolved more similar to big cats around today, with 2 opposing pairs of canines for capturing prey. This is because evolution would typically follow the path of least resistance and repurpose existing structures already used for similar behaviours. Instead, Thylacoleo had these huge incisors which many researchers refer to as canine-like or caniniform. Caniniform? Something like that. But there's an interesting possibility I've noticed here. And that's the beauty of paleontology. We get to speculate on behaviours that extinct animals might have used. So let's speculate! Okay, so if we can accept that these highly specialised incisors evolved for prey capture, simply because the canines that would be more typically evolved for this purpose weren't available, could this fluke of ancestry have actually resulted in a more powerful anatomy? Like an even better super predator? Wouldn't that be so awesome? Yeah! Taking a look at the paired incisors, notice how they erupt from the skull separately and come together at their tips? Well, if there's any engineers or architects in the room with us, you might recognise this formation. That's right, these 2 teeth come together to form an A-frame. A-frames are seen all over the place. Think shelves and houses, cranes, scaffolding and radio towers. A-frames are great because the 2 support beams can brace against each other and redirect the forces towards the base. This would stop the teeth from bending too much and possibly breaking on contact with harder materials. So while the canines of big cats have to stand all on their own and risk breakage on contact with bone or other hard materials, the incisors of Thylacoleo come together to form a kind of single unified giant demon tooth from hell that could have formed a stronger structure than the canines of big cats around today. So, what could this have been used for? Well, there's been tons of ideas put forward about how the marsupial lion might have used its teeth to bring down prey. Believe it or not, at one point, it was actually suggested to have been a specialist of native cucumbers. Thankfully, the research has come a long way since then. I'll post a link in the description of my PhD supervisor, Professor Steve Rowe, doing some really cool stuff with National Geographic. He's also starting a YouTube channel of his own actually, called Real Paleontology. So what do I personally think about all this? Well, we know that predators like big cats are not shy of using a whole range of behaviours to try to bring down prey. But there's often certain behaviours that they'll use on small prey, and others that they'll use on large prey. Take the leopard for example. Leopards are known to kill smaller prey with a hard bite to the back of the skull. This crushes the base of the brain or severs the spinal cord, causing a near instant death. We even see them doing this to humans. This is a pretty gruesome paper with some nasty photos of human victims in it, but it indicates that a high proportion of leopard attacks are focused towards the nape of the neck in children. It's generally larger prey that they need to kill with a bite to the front of the throat. This might indicate that larger prey are too risky to bite at the base of the skull. Maybe the bones around the skull and neck are just too thick and dangerous to bite in bigger animals, so leopards switch to a throat bite so they don't risk breaking their canines. Ah, but what if leopards had a single unified giant demon tooth from hell? Wouldn't this increase the size threshold through which that they could bite onto the nape of the neck and crush that brainstem and cause a near instant kill? Is that what Thylacoleo did? Crunch down on the nape of the necks of giant extinct kangaroos? It's hard to say, and we might never actually get an answer. But it's as good a hypothesis as any. We know they were pretty good climbers, so I can totally see a marsupial lion doing exactly what leopards do, but on much bigger prey, where they jump down from above and deliver a crushing bite to the brainstem. Adios, muchachos. No matter how the marsupial lion captured its prey, its skull stands as a legendary example of what evolution is capable of when faced with unique challenges. It's just a shame that the makers of that Thylacoleo horror movie decided to give it the teeth of placental carnivores with their big, stupid canines. They really dropped the ball on that one. Anyway, if you appreciate this content, leave a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.